Welcome all the classic car enthusiasts. Tonight I'm going to do just the E-Type. I've had a few requests to have a better look at it and do a little explanation on it. So you won't see any mini stuff in it. So if you want to shut off now, or you want to close it down now, it's up to you. But you know, classic cars are classic cars. And I say I had a few requests to have a look at it. Alex Tooney particularly said he'd like to have a look. And I will be doing a little bit on the servicing of it to get it ready for the summer season. A couple of quick shout outs I'd like to do. There's two guys. There's the Little General, which is called the Little General Classic Mini Build, and the other one is Lewis Mini City E. Lewis Mini City E. I think the General's got 61 subs, and I think Lewis has got 78. So it'd be nice if you could have a look in on them. Both these guys, I don't think are that familiar with Mini, so they can do. I'm sure they could do with your help. Well, there are experts out there, but we all learn as we go. I certainly do. People show me other techniques, and they're better. You know what I show you and what is not 100% the correct way to do something, but it ends up being the right way. There's different ways of attacking things, different ways of approaching these jobs. But at the end of the day, if you do it safely and it's done correctly and it's done right, there are different methods, of course. But these two guys particularly, I'm pretty sure could do with your help. The Little General is a chap from Scotland, and he's just taken the subframe out, and he's starting to rebuild the car. He's going to have, I think he's had a bolt snapped in the heel board, which is a standard for Minis. And Lewis is looking for, I think, for a new subframe, or he's going to try and do whatever he can with his own. So looking on these two sites, that would be great. So I hope you enjoy the E-Type. I just wanted to throw it in. I tend to get less views and it's got E-Type in the title than I do Mini, for obvious reasons. I guess there's a lot more Minis around than there is E-Types, but you know, they're still classic cars and they look gorgeous to look at, I think. Anyway, I hope everything's good with you guys, and be good to each other, and catch you in the next video. Bye for now. So, I just some of the guys have asked me to do a bit of a video on the E-Type. I'll go over a few specs on it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give it a service now before it goes back on the road in the middle of April. Yeah, so this car was completely, it was an absolute wreck when I got it. I'll put some pictures in. There was some still photographs of it, how it looked when I got the car. It's done approximately 6,000 kilometers now. Since I rebuilt it. We've been to England and back in it, and used it, I don't know, quite a lot. A reasonable amount for a classic car, that's for sure. For a car this age, that's certainly for sure. Yeah, and basically what we're going to do is do a complete service on it. You can see how tidy it is. Underneath you can still almost eat your dinner off it. It's getting a bit manky up here now, you can see. There's a few spots here and there that need tidying up. Here and there, but generally it's in very, very good condition. I think there was basically nothing on this car that wasn't either repaired or replaced or whatever. I'll tell you the basic story behind it once I bring the car down and show you. So you know, it's getting a few bits and pieces that need a bit of a tidy up, but generally it's in really good condition. There's a few bits here where I need to wipe off, but apart from that, so we're going to give it a good service, and I'll take you through that. Hopefully I can keep the Mini guys interested as well at the same time. But yeah, and as I said, I'll put in some pictures. I'll put in some pictures of the car, how it was in between, so you can see what kind of condition it was in. So you can see from some of these photographs just how bad the shell was. I mean, basically the whole bottom 25% had to be completely renewed. It was in very, very poor shape. And this had to be done obviously in a process of a bit at a time, being a Roadster. But I think this gives you an indication of just how poor condition it was in. again, here you can see the IRS right at the end. So there you go. The last video I did, I was pointing out that I need to get this bonnet so it stays up on its own. One of the issues is that in Austria we have to have the front number plate on. By law, you're not allowed to have the original cars in the UK. They had a sticker on the nose of the bonnet, but because of speed cameras now, they won't allow you to have that. Some people have done it, but it is very risky. You'd have to keep the other plate with you in the windscreen, which looks awful. So I'll go over a few things. Basically, this car is a 1966, so it's a Series 1 4.2 with the triple SU carburetors on it. The original cars, the first 500 were called flat floors, and for a simple reason, the floor was literally flat. After the first 500 cars, which were 3.8 litre, triple SUs as well, they put a dish into the floors, into the passenger and driver's floor, towards the more on the where your feet go in the car, and this was to give you a bit more leg room, and somebody who was a bit taller would fit in the car easier. Apparently there'd been some issues with people that were over 6 foot, couldn't sit in them properly, and this is what they did. They dished the floors out, so only the first 500 cars had flat floors in them, and they were 3.8s. In 1964 they changed the car from a 3.8 to a 4.2 engine, and the Moss box had a synchromesh, because they didn't have synchromesh in first in the Moss box. A lot of people say that the real cars, or the real E-types, are the 3.8s. Apparently the 3.8 engine torque is good, but the torque in a 4.2 is even better, but about the same kind of speed, because obviously there's some difference in weight. But I think by the time they got to 1964, from 61, when the E-type very first came out, they really got it together. So there was 3 series. There was a Series 1 with a 3.8 and a 4.2, and then in 67 it changed to a Series 2 car. 68 it changed. 67, 68 changed to the Series 2 car, and those cars had the rear lights above the bumper. Below the bumper. The Series 1 are above, and the lights were not covered in glass, the front headlights. They were open, and the bumpers were changed quite a bit, and this was for the American market, because Jaguar really needed the American dollar, and they changed a lot on the car. They put 2 Zenith carburetors on it, and they depowered the engine basically, which made it not as sought after, and consequently the Series 2 car it will go for less money than a Series 1 or the later Series 3 V12. So the strange thing is the first ones that came out and the last ones that come out are the most desirable, or seem to be the most desirable. And like I say, the reason I actually bought this car in such a bad condition was I wanted to start from scratch, because I've seen a lot of cars, looked at a lot of cars, and there was always some issues with them, corrosion wise and so on. So I wanted to start from scratch basically and completely rebuild the car, so I knew what I had at the end of it. And this is why there's a massive difference in these cars in price from what they're being sold for. You can find a car of exactly the same age and there can be 80,000 pounds or 80,000 euros of difference, which seems ridiculous. It can double its price just by having a good restoration, and anybody who knows their E-types will know exactly where to look at and where to go for to see whether it's been done correctly. So this is why I took such a long time to build this car. I'd never built one before, even though I have good mechanical skills and some reasonable metalwork skills. It was something I've never tried before, and it was a massive learning curve, as you can imagine. The same it is with Minis. I'm no expert in any of these cars, but I've learnt a lot as I've gone, and I've had a lot of help. So that's basically the thing behind the car, and everything on this car was done. I did everything. I had some help, obviously, with some other people here and there. By the time Amir had come here, the car was already finished. I think the only thing I needed to do was put the bonnet on when he came. I'd had a bit of help here and there, but generally I did everything myself apart from the paintwork. The paintwork I had done professionally, which is on the video. So if you guys are interested in having a look at the car, if you go back to my old Jaguar videos, before we did the car, the body shell for Nigel, the E-Type, you can go back and have a look. But one of the best ones to look at is Jaguar E-Type 4 years in 4 minutes. And this will show you the condition the car was in. In fact, I might use some of that footage to put into this video. So I just wanted to give you an overview of the car and what we're going to be doing. So basically it's going to get a complete service ready for the summertime. So as you can see, we've got the hood up. With any convertible, not just the E-Types, but any convertible, it's much better to leave the hood up than it is down, because they get creased very badly, particularly on these back windows. They can go opaque very easily. What I do with mine is I use it's in there, I can see it. I have a towel in the back, and when I'm folding away, it's a good tip for convertibles, and then I fold this in across the window as I fold it back, so that the plastic is not rubbing against each other. It's not a bad little tip. I think it works quite well, and it's served me well. But yeah, they're much better to keep up than leave them down. They can get stuck very easily. So this is why, and they stay taut if they're up as well. And we put this on ourselves. So actually, that was a job that Amir and I did together, if I remember right. The car was finished, just the hood wasn't finished. And I had this made. Who did I get this from? Everything was from John Skinner, which is that company there you can see on the wall. So all the interior we put in, it was already done actually by the time Amir had come, but I basically did all the interior myself. I got it as a kit from John Skinner, the dashboard, everything basically. There's a few bits and pieces now, like that rubber's now needing to be glued up, you know. But generally, it looks pretty nice. There's a lot of work in it. There's some bits to do on the engine. I'm just noticing here the gold paint's coming off there and there. It needs an absolute clean up. It's absolutely filthy inside. But it's such a beautiful engine. I mean, it's like automotive art in my opinion. I'll take you around the other side. And again, what made these was these lights, these covered lights. It made the car. The open lights is okay. They work better in some ways, but they just look real sexy with these covered lights. You can see there's the chassis number there. So at the moment, because we were just starting the car up, it hasn't been started for, I don't know, 5 months. So we took this off to get a bit of fuel in here. Not easy start. I don't like easy start. It's once the engines get used to it, they're an absolute bugger to get them off it. It's almost like drugs to wean them off. So this thing is called the Planeth, which is just sat over there. In fact, it's sat there. You can just see at the back there. This is this silver thing here. Yeah, and that just basically drags air in from there and into the carburetors, but we haven't got it on because it's easy to get the car started first start of the season. But these are 2-inch SU HD8 carburetors. So I'll say it's 4.2 litre. This one has a aluminium radiator in it, an aluminium header tank, as you can see here. I had them special because of today's traffic, you know, queuing up and so on. The engines on these can overheat fairly easily. It has electric Kenlo fans on it. Yeah, I mean, basically there wasn't a nut or bolt that wasn't taken off this car. It was every nut and bolt was either replaced or not modified, but cleaned up and then used. Unless they were in absolute top condition, I didn't use anything. And as somebody pointed out, Doug, I think it was Piper Doug, this has the 3 wiper blades which came from the kind of racing side. And yeah, so hopefully you guys will watch in as we service it, and especially the guys who've got E-Types or just like these cars, you know. This was a lifetime ambition to have one of these, and the only way I could actually get one was by buying one that was a basket case and starting from scratch. But for the money I paid for the car and the parts I put into it, not including labour, but just for the car and the parts, it's actually doubled the money. The money to sell now is double. But honestly, the labour I put in was, I would think, 2,500 hours at least. So if you add that up, there's nothing in it, in fact. But it is a beautiful thing to drive, and it just makes you feel like $1 million when you're driving it down the road. It's a great car. It's something since I was 9 years old I wanted, and never had the time or the money in the early days to do it. And it was only after I retired and got a nice chunk as a golden handshake that I had the money to do it. But you know, you've got to do these things over a period of time. It's a lot of money to put into a vehicle, but well worth it. The satisfaction of building this and finishing it and driving it to England was amazing. Anyway, I'll let you listen to it when I start it up. Yeah.